They say we live in the age of validation. An era where a double tap on a screen can momentarily feel like love. Where likes have replaced language. Where strangers' approval carries more weight than our own conscience. But what if I told you that this constant craving for validation is quietly destroying you? That every time you mold your identity to be liked, you are trading a piece of your soul. Modern life has taught us to chase applause. Stoicism teaches us to chase virtue. And somewhere in between lies the battlefield of your character. Burn the approval. That's what the Stoics would whisper if they were among us today. Burn the need to be liked. Burn the fear of being misunderstood. Burn the desire to be seen in a good light by people who barely know themselves. And from that fire, build something unshakable. Build the character that doesn't flinch under judgment. Build the kind of self that doesn't rely on borrowed confidence. Build yourself, not for them, but for the world that desperately needs authenticity over popularity. Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let that sink in. In a time when we're all desperately curating images, editing captions, and filtering faces, one of the wisest minds in history said the cost of true improvement is being misunderstood. Being seen as lesser. Even being mocked. Are you willing to pay that price? Most people aren't. Because most people would rather look good than be good. But not you. Not if you're serious about living by Stoic principles. Not if you're done living at the mercy of opinions. The Stoics didn't build their identity around applause. They built it in silence. In rejection. In self-discipline. They understood that the highest form of freedom isn't doing what you want, it's not being controlled by what others think. Imagine that. Imagine waking up one day and no longer adjusting your actions because of who might disapprove. Imagine speaking your truth, not for reaction, not for attention, but because your soul can't do otherwise. That's power. And it doesn't come from society. It comes from character. But let's be honest, it's not easy. Approval is addictive. It's warm. It's tempting. It makes us feel seen. But approval also lies. It tells you you're enough, as long as you don't rock the boat. It teaches you to shrink. To censor yourself. To play the role others write for you. And while it feels like safety, it's actually a prison. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That's the sickness. That's the contradiction. We betray ourselves to be accepted by people who might not even remember our names next year. So how do we escape this loop? How do we stop living for others and start living for truth? Start here. Ask yourself what kind of person you admire, not the kind of person others praise, but the kind of person you respect in silence. Is it someone who goes with the flow, or someone who dares to go against it? Is it someone who adapts their values for comfort, or someone who holds the line, even when it costs them? Now, ask yourself, are you becoming that kind of person? The truth is, character isn't built in comfort. It's built in discomfort. In moments when you choose what's right over what's easy. When you stand firm even when people walk away. When you speak truth even when your voice shakes. When you act with integrity even when no one's watching. That's what Stoicism trains you for. Not for applause, not for recognition, but for internal alignment. For peace. For power. For being able to look in the mirror and say, I like who I'm becoming, even if no one else does. Social media, society, culture, they will always tempt you to be agreeable. They will always reward you for being palatable. But you weren't born to be liked, you were born to be real. And being real means being rejected sometimes. It means being criticized. It means walking alone. But it also means walking in truth. And that is where your strength is. Seneca said, a good character, when established, is not easily overthrown. That's what you're building every time you say no to fake praise. Every time you take a hit for standing up for your beliefs. Every time you don't explain yourself to people who don't care to understand you, you're not just burning approval, you're forging steel. You're forming a foundation that no storm can shake. A quiet confidence that doesn't scream for attention but radiates dignity. The world doesn't need more agreeable people. It needs more authentic ones. It needs people who lead with principle, who don't sell their voice for applause, who don't shift with the crowd but walk with conviction. And make no mistake, this kind of living is a rebellion. A quiet, powerful rebellion against the shallowness of modern values. Against the idea that your worth is tied to your performance or popularity. Against the belief that being liked is more important than being good. Real strength is invisible. It doesn't need to be announced. It shows up in how you treat others when no one's watching. It's in how you carry yourself when your name is slandered. It's in how you hold your ground when your conscience says stay and the world says run. That's the character we build when we stop chasing validation. Let me ask you something. What have you not done because you were afraid of judgment? What truth have you silenced? What part of you have you hidden just to fit in? What dreams have you abandoned just to avoid being laughed at? And how long will you let others' opinions write the story of your life? The Stoics didn't live that way. They weren't reckless. They weren't arrogant. But they were unshakable. Because they knew that opinions are fleeting. That today's cheers are tomorrow's silence. That the only approval that matters is the one you give yourself when you've lived honorably, truthfully, and with purpose. Burn the approval. Build the character. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a survival guide in a world built to distract you from yourself. It's a reminder that every time you betray your soul for a compliment, you are choosing temporary comfort over eternal strength. And the cost is far too high. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to win every argument to win your soul. You don't have to be followed to be fulfilled. But you do have to be honest with yourself. You do have to walk the path, even when it's lonely. And you do have to choose discipline over approval, every single day. The Stoics didn't chase admiration. They chased truth. They didn't obsess over being remembered, they obsessed over being worthy of remembrance. And if there's one thing we can take from them into this noisy, approval-hungry world, it's this: character is the only legacy that matters. So the next time you hesitate to speak your truth because someone might not like it, remember Marcus. Remember Epictetus. Remember Seneca. And remember that the people we admire most in history were never the ones who followed the crowd. They were the ones who defied it. With grace. With wisdom. And with unbreakable character. Burn the approval. Build the character. That's the Stoic way. That's the only way to live free.